Hey, good Friday afternoon to you. I'm Tre Tailor, and welcome to Coping with COVID. Updates about the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It is certainly a trying time. Many people are at odds financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And oftentimes, when we are going through those stressful times in our lives, it's hard to make clear decisions. Well, today, we're going to help you do just that with Karen Jenkins. She's with KRJ Consulting. And Karen, I remember you from back in the day when you were doing financial consulting with WIS, but I know your company is doing so much more now. First, thank you so much for joining us. It's so good to see you. And tell me about your company.
Thank you for having me, Trey. So back in the day, I was a financial consultant for WIS TV, and I guess I still am. I got recruited or reactivated over the last few months back, but that was my passion. A lot of people thought that I was a financial planner, that I was, in some type of area where after they heard me, they could come and give me their money and I would make magic happen. My passion was educating people on how to prepare and protect themselves financially. So I was really there just for the educational component. We had a 5-year stint from, I think, 2010 to 2015. And my father got sick, so kind of went a different path. And I haven't been back on since then, up until recently when we have this new crisis.
Right.
I'll start talking about the impacts of the crisis on people personally, financially, mentally, as you said, from a relational perspective, but also with small businesses. So I'm back in that seat.
That's great.
Our company has grown since then. With KRJ Consulting, we do consulting, professional services, administrative support services, and really what we do on the non-government side, because we're a government contractor, is help businesses help their employees increase their confidence and capacity so that they can effectively manage through change and now crisis. Because people don't adjust to change well. We're creatures of habit, and we want things to happen this way. And when they don't happen that way, when we don't manage the process, it doesn't come out as well as it can.
Yeah. And, here's my concern, Karen. There are a sector of people who recognize that we're in crisis, and they are so fearful that they can't move. And then there's a sector of people that just kind of laissez-faire, they're not even, they back out without a mask on, not social distancing, and listen, more power to those people who don't feel like there is a need for that. But even then, there could be something that happens in your life, and you need to be able to, as I always say, cry, then dry your eyes, and then get it together.
Yes. So for my fearful people, we as a nation, we as a country, just we as a city, Trey, have gone through so many things. And the common denominator of the things that have occurred in the past, when you look at 9/11, when you look at 2008, the financial crisis, when you look at 2015, if you were in South Carolina, or actually Columbia, where we had the 100-year flood repeat itself, those were truly crises that happened. The common denominator with each one of them is that we made it through it. The crisis didn't happen and didn't hang out, and we're still stuck there.
Yeah.
So the premise is that even now we're challenged with, unlike those crises, it was a occurrence and then it stopped and then we started recovery. COVID happened. We're still in the midst of the storm.
Yeah.
My coach likes to call it a parallel reality, where we had what we used to have. We're here right now, but we haven't totally come through it. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen on the other side of this.
Yeah.
We have to stay diligent in keeping our eye on positivity. One of my favorite I have lived by is that one from Aristotle. And he says that it is in the darkest time that we must focus on the light.
Yes.
We have to focus on the positive things. We can't focus on what we don't have. We can't focus on what we are missing or lacking, or what we can and cannot do. I'm not saying to ignore it, but what I am saying is that you can't focus on it.
Right.
I love the news. I watch, just to stay informed, little bite-sized chunks, but I can't sit there and watch the news all day long because it puts you in that fearful state when you start the number of people that are dying, the number of people that have been impacted. And what we have to do is we have to be diligent. The best advocate for us is ourselves. So if I know, it's almost like, and so let's switch from those people that are very fearful and, analysis paralysis people to those people that are out here acting like nothing's going on. When it hits home, it hits home.
Oh, yeah.
And when you are told don't touch the stove and you touch it, then you get burned.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are out here that are not being diligent about keeping themselves and the people around them safe are just asking to be taught a lesson. Yeah. And unless it happens to their loved ones, until it happens in their household, until it happens to somebody that they know, they don't pay attention to it. I'm an avid believer. I believe in learning from other people's mistakes. I don't
Yes, that's right.
I like looking at other people and watching what they learn and figure, okay, well, I don't need to do that.
Right.
But it's astonishing to me, and I felt bad when I heard about the public employees that had been affected by COVID. And then I thought back, well, why were they?
Yes.
These guys are now like our military, right? Providing us with the service. We need food. So why not protect them? They are in that situation because we have people walking to the grocery store acting like nothing happened. Mm-hmm. I took my husband and I were out a week and a half ago. And I was driving, so I pulled up, let him get out and go in the store, and I went and parked. I saw two people that had on masks, and he was one of them.
Right.
There were people going in and out, in and out. If nothing else, wear the mask to protect the people that are trying to provide you with the service. These people have families.
Yeah.
They need this job, and they're trying to make sure that we eat. Because if the Publix closed, then all of a sudden we're mad and we got a problem. Mm-hmm. We all have to pitch in and do our fair share. We have to come to a happy medium. Our paralysis analysis people, let's come out of that. Let's focus on the light. Let's figure out what strategies we need to employ to get ourselves on the other side of this thing. And then for those of us who are, let's do the hokey pokey dance and we just don't get out here and do what we want to do. Let's come to the center and try to be a team player and protect the community.
Yeah, I love that. You make such a good point, because when you're wearing a mask, you're not protecting yourself. You're protecting the other person. I'm protecting you and you're protecting me.
Exactly.
If you do think you're invincible, and we've all been that age where we thought we were, or you don't think that you are at risk, what about someone else?
Right.
Because that's what you're protecting.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're talking to Karen Jenkins with KRJ Consulting about leading through uncertainty and fear. And so let's talk about how do we move past our fear, Karen, to do what we have to do professionally. One thing, a lot of people are going through some financial times. People have lost their jobs. They're challenged because it's hard to get unemployment because there's a million trillion other people trying to get it too. So how do you get past that to do what you need to do, and what decisions need to be made?
So let's address the fear part first. Fear is a reality, right? So we have to figure out, how do we embrace fear? Fear is an emotion. Fear is an emotion like joy, happiness, sadness, but fear is there. We were placed or given fear as part of our human anatomy or makeup to guide us, to tell us to take a pause, to not run into a situation without having a plan, or at least be cautious when we had to do that. So the first step is to acknowledge the fear. The second thing you have to do in that emotional state is acknowledge, and I don't want to say embrace it, but yeah, we have to not resist. What we resist persists.
Yeah.
So to be in denial that we're in this situation is not a good thing. So we want to embrace the fact, guess what? I don't have to like where I am. I don't have to like that this COVID thing is going on, but I do have to accept the fact that this is our reality right now. This is where we are. Now, I've dealt with the fact I got this fear thing going on, and you can have the feeling, right? And you can still move forward. Then it's about what you focus on. Remember, we talked about in our darkest time, we must focus on the light. Yeah. Now let's focus on something positive. Let's focus on the fact that, hey, if you and I are on this call today, and we're on the Zoom call today, that's one important part of something that other people aren't blessed with. We're living, right now. I can deal with the challenge. I can deal with something that may or may not happen. I want to be on the other side of this COVID thing, that regardless of what happens, whether I lost my job, whether I had to close my business, whether something else happened, I am alive to be able to pick up the pieces. There are a lot of people that were not blessed enough to say I'm alive. They the contracted COVID and they're gone. So for me, the reality is that within itself is a blessing. So I want to be in a position to embrace where I am right now, focus on the positive, and then try to figure out, how do I come up with this plan? What is it that I need? What resources do I need? Who has access to the resources that I need? So the loss of, and let me go back to 2008. So what was heartbreaking for me was that back in 2008, when we had that mortgage crisis, and I'm talking executives that were making six figures. You had people that were committing suicide because they lost their job, or there was something bad that happened in their lives and they just couldn't deal with it. And in my heart of hearts, I believe the reason that happened was because they tied their identity to the function that they served in the community. So let me tell your audience right now, this is not about your job. You are not your job, right? You are not your business. And if something should happen and it is separated from you and you don't have it, it's okay. It is truly okay. You are still alive. Your identity is not built on that role that you play, because you can shift and go into different roles. I can tell your audience, okay. So let me back up. So people need to understand, why can I talk about this? Who is Karen? For the people that may not know me, why?
I was getting ready to go there, though, Karen.
What's she talking about? She don't know what she's talking about.
Karen, I was getting ready to go there. Before you go there, let me just say this. I want to say hi to Felicia Adams and everyone that's watching Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Felicia says, amen, denial doesn't help. And she also says 2008 was a nightmare. Karen Jenkins is with KRJ Consulting. And we're talking about leading through uncertainty and fear. And you have been there, Karen. You mentioned earlier that, your father got ill and that's why you left WIS. But after that, you had a huge, and look, I don't have to tell you a story. You can tell it. I mean, you had a huge situation, setback, mental, physical, emotional, when your college age son got sick. Was he in college? Was he in high school when he got sick?
He had just graduated from high school. So I'm gonna take you back even further than that. In 2007, I was working in corporate America and got laid off. So for those of you who are right now in COVID and you got laid off, I can tell you there's sunshine on the other side of this thing.
Yes.
I got laid off in 2007 and had no idea what I was going to do. But by the grace of God, with prayer, dedication, and just staying focused on what I needed to do to figure out what my next step was going to be, to have that downtime, that pause, to have self-discovery, I find myself opening up my own business. So that has been a blessing. That business did not go beyond 2008 because it was a mortgage company. I opened in 2007, mortgage thing happened in 2008. So guess what? That business went away. I opened up this business to be a service provider to family services in Charleston to help people facing foreclosure, because they wanted my skill set of a housing counselor, but they didn't want my business. So KRJ Consulting came about because of that.
Right.
helping homeowners, save their homes and all of that stuff. So we did that for a while. So fast forward, we get through 2008, and as a community, we did. 2015 or 2014, I got into government contracting. Everything's going well. My father got sick. I was his primary caregiver. As his primary caregiver, I had to be at the hospital bed. I'm trying to work as much as I can, but whatever. And in the midst of that, we have the flood. My father's in the hospital. I can't get to him. Guess what? We got COVID going on right now. We have people that go into the hospital and you can't get to them. I feel your pain. I understand what it feels like to have that loved one that you love, that you care for, that you can't get to. Yeah. So 2015, we lost 70% of our revenue as a result of that. So for those of you who are in business who had to close your doors and you're like, oh my gosh, what do? I don't have revenue. I lived that in 2015. 2016, Dad passed in January of 2016. So, rest his soul. He was 86 at the time.
Yeah, lived a good life.
Great life. Oh my God. My daddy lived a great life. So, I know I served him well when he was here. So we're coming out of it. We're trying to build the business back up. My son graduates from Richfield High School on January 1st and on June 1st. And on June 5th, he had a ruptured brain aneurysm. Out of the blue. Son barely had a cold. Okay. So we're in the hospital 37 days. Don't know at this point. Doctor told us in the beginning he had a 10 to 15% chance of survival. And that if he did survive, he probably wouldn't be able to take care of himself to do anything. So by the grace of God, because I'm again in that dark time, in your darkest time, you have to focus on the light.
Yeah.
Doctor told me, but I knew doctor wasn't the doctor.
That's right, girl.
Okay, he did the last word. We claim victory. We claim victory, and God rewarded us for that. So after 37 days, we moved to Atlanta because he had to go through rehab full time down there. So I'm working from wherever I can work. I'm working, doing what I can. But again, by having that stick to it attitude, by having that, I'm not focusing on the challenges that I've been faced with, because I've been faced with almost everything everybody's faced with right now. I had to focus on the solution.
Yes.
I had to be agile enough to know, I don't know exactly where I'm going, because you don't need to know all the answers.
Right.
Position yourself. So as I said, I'm gonna show you a bottle of water. Okay, this is a bottle of water, right? So we have to be like the bottle of water. When the bottle tilts left, we have to tilt left. When the bottle tips right, we have to tip right. You have to be agile enough to be prepared for whatever the storm brings. If you go outside, you wear warm clothes, have a jacket and an umbrella, because you want to be prepared for the rain. You want to be prepared if it gets a little chilly, and then you be able to take it off if it's hot. That's what you want to prepare for. But I'm here to tell you, and my testimony is this. My son, after having a 10 to 15% chance of living, started a year later at the University of South Carolina part-time.
Right.
Majoring in biology, and he says he's going to be a biology professor. He's doing extremely well.
He is. He's a miracle. He is a walking miracle.
Hallelujah. You hear me? I'm grateful for that. When I told you I lost the business, we quadrupled our revenue by 2017. By the end of 2017, we quadrupled our revenue because we had a stick to it attitude. We had, I'm going to focus. I have to be thankful for the crumbs, and I need everybody to be thankful for the crumbs. I am thankful. I know as a community, we get what I call spiritual amnesia. That there was a 2001 where we had 9/11 and we made it through it. We forget that we had a 2008 and we made it through it. We forget here locally we had a flood and we made it through it. So now we're in COVID. Everybody's we're in crisis mode. We made it through it.
Right.
Resilient city, country, state, world. We're humans.
Yeah.
Yes. And I get feels sometimes when I think about the blessings that we have received and that the people that I've watched receive. I see somebody made a comment that they had lost someone. My cousin.
Yeah, Mike Aronson. Thank
you. My cousin, his father, I mean, y'all may have seen it. He was a police officer, captain, or one of the high levels up at as a sheriff in Detroit. And he came down with COVID and he succumbed to it. My niece, who is in Maryland, her mother has dementia and a whole bunch of other stuff, and she was kind of stressed out because she couldn't reach her. They put the lockdown on, but as a result of that, we got on family Zoom. We had a family Zoom about 6 weeks ago. Best thing yet, right? We had 28 people all around the country, our family descendants coming together to be a support of one another. Do something like that. You don't have to be stuck in the house by yourself. Get on the phone, do like Tre and I do, but add family members.
Yeah, reach out to whatever resources you need to build you up, to fill you up. I love, Karen, that you said, remember what you went through before that you came through. Remember that you came through something before. And if you are a believer, and everybody isn't, it's okay. But if you are a believer, remember that the same God who blessed you through the dry times is still the same God. He's still consistent. He still loves you. He still has more blessings, that he's got you through this time. If you aren't a believer, whatever strength, whatever perseverance you had, utilize that to make you get you through this. I love that you say you are not your job. Indy Ari says, we are not our hair. You're not your job. You're so much more than the job you have now. So, so how do people then pivot from, okay, I've always been a boom, 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 whatever, and now this job is gone and I'm waiting for unemployment? How do they, let's talk about pivoting, shifting to the new normal, shifting to whatever, because here's the thing, I believe that just means God's got another opportunity for you. There's a new door that's open for you. I want to say hi to Nicolette Robinson, same God got this. Amen. Absolutely. Yes. Go ahead, Karen.
So I'm loving that you talked about pivoting. So the first thing, and let's talk about whether you're a small business or you're individual and you find yourself in a situation. The first thing I tell people to do is do an assessment. So let's go back to where you were prior to the COVID-19. What was going on with you financially?
Right.
What's going on with you spiritually, mentally, all of that. But we're going to drill down on the financial side. So take an assessment of how much revenue you had coming in, how much money you have saved up. So how much income you got coming in, how much did you have saved up, and then what were your expenses? Write that down.
Right.
Now let's shift to these weeks of COVID, or now months of COVID.
Yeah.
What do we have here? What's left in this box? Are there expenses that you can cut out or reduce or decline?
Right.
There are programs that have come about, when we had legislation that passed bills where everybody should have received, $1,200 check based on their income. You want to be in a position where for those of you who have the revenue, let's say you just got to a point where you were being sent home to work. Don't get in trouble because you're taking advantage of programs that are designed for people that have no income, and you decided you want to delay payments and not pay right now.
Right.
The majority of the programs that I've seen that are helping people, they didn't say you don't have to pay. They said we will delay your payment.
Right.
So if there isn't a problem, don't not pay it if you have the money, and then
don't make it a problem. Right.
Yeah. So for people that may have federal loans, for example, federal school student loans have had an automatic stay where they aren't taking any payments from now until September 30th, and they're not going to apply any interest during that period. But that's only for federal. If you have a private loan and you're having some issues, then you need to get on the phone and call that lender yourself and have that conversation. The mortgage companies, if you're having problems paying that mortgage, they already know you're calling. I mean,
right.
Not necessarily you, but they know it.
They know what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. So call them on the phone and explain your situation and see if they can't give you what we call a forbearance. Forbearance just means they can delay your payment and maybe not necessarily require you to pay 5 payments at once. Maybe they'll take those payments that you're missing and put them on the back of the loan.
Right.
So you have to ask. They're not going to do it automatically. If you have credit cards, you want to do the same thing. Call the credit card companies, and you want to ask two questions, because credit card companies, they want to make their money. So you want to ask for, one, the ability to delay your payment, but you also want them to freeze the interest.
Okay, that's good. So they can do that. Yeah.
Yes, you want to ask them, can you delay my payment and also freeze my interest? Because if you don't have money now, you're not going to have it,
Right.
extra interest part that's accruing. So ask them, is that possibility? The only thing they can say is yes, no, or maybe.
Yeah.
So after you get that, you want to prioritize. Okay. What I saw years ago was people that prioritized, they felt like the cable was more important than mortgage bill.
No.
I need a place to live. So wherever you live, and you want to be able to pay that.
Right.
Need food. And food. I didn't say you had to go out to the restaurants and buy the biggest steak, but you need food. So that's priority.
A grocery store. Yeah.
You want to make sure your medical stuff is taken care of. Clothing, we ain't really going anywhere. So everybody's wearing casual stuff now. So, food and shelter are the things that you want to prioritize. Everything else, look on there and see if there's a bill that you can say, okay, well, I don't really need cable right now. Well, of course, in the house, everybody might want to.
But you know what, Karen, you may not need cable. You may need internet.
Yes.
But even with Spectrum or AT&T, you can take out your, again, your cable, your TV channels or whatever, and still internet, and use your phone. If you've got internet, you can stream some shows or something.
Yes, like that. You can. And you can ask them, maybe you don't want to take it. Maybe you want them to pause the service.
Right.
Put the service on pause because I'm not using it right now. These tips can be used in business as well as on your personal side, because you need to figure out what your financial picture looks like. Then you need to figure out, well, how much what I call runway do I have? I hope people listen to me when we were on WIS for 5 years, and we talked about it is important for you to take a portion of your income and put it off to the side, and that you need to have somewhere between 3 to 6 months of expenses, not your salary, but 3 to 6 months of your expenses put somewhere. So for those people who followed that guidance, they're fine right now. And they might be able to still gather unemployment or whatever, but they still have that cushion just in case. For those of you who didn't, we need to talk about making sure that happens going forward.
Yeah.
For people who got the stimulus check, it was disheartening. It really was. It was disheartening to see a couple of weeks ago. I knew the stimulus checks had come out, and in Atlanta, they showed pictures of a group of people, a lot of them. And this before I think the release of telling people they can go out, standing in line to buy Jordan tennis shoes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what the stimulus check was for. But if you were blessed to get the stimulus check, because see, those people that are still working got it too, right?
Right.
What do you do with it? My advice, put it in an account away from where you normally bank, and let that be your reserve. Because for those of us who may not have been impacted today, maybe we didn't lose our job today, maybe we didn't get furloughed today, we don't know what this thing is going to do.
That's right. Yeah.
So the ramifications or the ripple effect of what's happening may be in September. It may be in December. Businesses are struggling. And although they may have been able to maintain your job right now, they may be faced with some decisions later. So you, as your own advocate, need to be precautious. And I'm not saying not to spend money. So my philosophy on anything when you get a check from the government is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 of it goes into some savings or vehicle that you can just touch. 1/3 goes on to paying debt. For now, I'm gonna tell you, take that, put it over in the savings account too, because we don't know how long this thing is gonna last. And the last thing, third, is something that you might need. Go buy yourself something. Go with that, a need, not a want.
A need, yeah.
We're not in the want column.
Toothpaste. Yeah,
a need. Toilet paper, if you can find it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alcohol. That's what. Oh, girl, I can't even find alcohol. But I digress. I got plenty of toilet paper. I need some. I know,
right. So making sure that you're positioning yourself to be able to have that. Now, so let's talk about the pivot real quick.
Yeah.
Let's define a pivot. A pivot in basketball, you're dribbling the ball, right? And so as long as you're dribbling and moving and you don't pick up your dribble, you're good, right? But what'll happen is when you stop, you can't go anywhere. That's called a travel.
Mm-hmm.
Take your pivot foot and then your standard foot. Your standard foot stays in its place, but your pivot foot can go around, and around. So let's take that in our life. I'm going to stay where I am and continue to do what I'm doing. That's my standard foot. That's my base. But I'm going to take my pivot foot and I'm going to look left, right, up, down, all around for opportunities. I'm scoping out the landscape. I'm sitting back, especially if I'm a business, and seeing for every disruption we've experienced, there's always been something new that evolved that was a need for our community.
Right.
And people that were open enough to see that and had a skill set to be able to fulfill it were pretty successful in opening up a new division or opening up a business altogether.
Right,
so
right.
in your pivot, you're going to look at, okay, what else is out here? What else can I see? I'm still maintaining my base. I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm still wanting to do what I'm doing, but I'm also looking around and scanning to see what are the options I have. When I find something, I'm still going to stay here, right? But I'm going to maybe dip my toe in it, do some research, find out what's going on there. And I could maybe even start working on that a little bit until it's time for me to launch and take that shot.
Right. And wouldn't you say, Karen, where should we look for those pivot opportunities? Nicolette says pivot. Yes, opportunity speaks loud. Could it be something that you used to be able to, you used to do, or a skill set that you have? It could even be, wouldn't you agree, something that you are doing now for a company that you could do it for
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I love to think about what your gifts are. So what are your gifts? What is it that honestly you would do regardless of whether you got paid for it or not?
Right.
That'll be the first place I look. So whatever my gift is that I love doing, and then I figure out, okay, so depending on my gift, can I monetize that? Is that something that I can provide as a product or a service to the community? And if it is, then that's where I'd start.
Right.
If it's not that passionate thing, it's not that gift thing, maybe it's just, again, back kind of to the gift. I'm going to call it your skill set, because your skill set might be your gift. What is your skill set? What is it that you do in your current world or your previous world that you can apply and go out and offer that service? If you're an administrative person, or you have administrative skills. Maybe you got furloughed or laid off at your current job, but there are virtual assistants in the world.
Yes.
Can you hook up with a virtual assistance company? Can you let people in your area know, hey, I'm a virtual assistant, I'm providing these services, would you bring me on? But got to think outside the box. Outside the box. And what worked in the old pre-COVID world may not work in the new world, but we have to be vigilant and paying attention. And here's the thing, and I'm gonna push this till next week. If you're fearful and you're uncertain and you're focusing on the negative part of this thing, you're gonna miss every one of the opportunities I just talked about.
Oh, you're right.
See it. You can't see it. You can't see an opportunity if you're focusing on the darkness. You can't see the opportunity if you're so, woe is me and what's going on in my life. You got to be hungry. I think
that's what Brown says. That's what Les Brown says. Karen Jenkins joins us. She's talking about leading through uncertainty and fear. Marty Quick says Karen Jenkins is awesome. Evangelist says good teaching, and faith over fear is what Nicolette Robinson says. That's right, Karen. You cannot see clearly if you are negative, if you are, like you said, fearful, if you are just caught up in the emotion, the negative emotion of what's happening, because yes, it's a terrible thing that's happening and so many people are affected, but it's also a change that is occurring in the world. Yes. And are you going to be part of the change? We've got to make a decision where we want to fall in this.
Well, here's the thing. The change is going to happen regardless of whether
the change is going to come. That's what Sam Cooke said.
Listen,
the change is
here. It's happening. So are we going to be, it's that, I don't know if you haven't read Who Moved My Cheese, Read,
Oh yeah.
because it talks about, that mentality that you need to have when change happens. There are three things that are consistent in our world. You're going to live, you're going to die, and in between that, there's change.
What you gonna do?
Right? There's change. You have changed. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago.
Right.
So when we embrace the change and we manage the change, we accept the fact that there is change. We don't try to resist it. There's so many opportunities that will align, right? And what it is that we're doing. Again, back to the faith part. I'm an avid believer. I know everybody isn't, but I ask for guidance. I asked God's source. I asked him for guidance. When I got laid off, I didn't have necessarily fear because I had faith, and fear and faith can't occupy the same space. So I asked for guidance. And when I tell you I don't tell you it was like a miracle. It was a miracle. Because people were placed in my path that I never would have met. I really believe that I never would have met. I never would have spoken to give me this opportunity had I not had that faith, had I not been looking up instead of down.
Yeah.
Hungry for the answers. And I didn't have them all. And I'll be honest, it was scary, but there's a difference between experiencing scary and moving forward and experiencing fear and staying where you are, thinking that everything around you will be the same.
You know what, Karen, you made a great point when you talked about change, and sometimes change is scary. And I think, we get so comfortable in the job that we had, or the home that we had, or whatever, the relationships that we have. You're so comfortable. Comfort is, we're there and we feel like you're comfortable. You're comfortable.
Yeah.
And then you've got to think that you've got to now step out and do something else, something that you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
You don't know what is on the other side, but you'll never know. And it could be so much better.
Oh my gosh.
Just take the chance. Believe in yourself, your skills. And again, I'm like you, I'm a faith person. And I say this all the time. I don't care if you believe in hot dogs and hamburgers. That's okay. I believe in Jesus. So I just say, just trust God. Just trust God.
Yes.
He got you.
And again, back to there's a section that says faith without works is dead.
Yeah, you got to do something.
So you got to do something. Don't just have faith. Okay, it's going to be all right. You got to do the homework. You have to put yourself in a mental capacity. It's attitudinal.
Yeah.
Life is attitudinal. To me, life
it is.
Do you see the glass half full, or do you see it as half empty? And we embrace the possibilities. And do it anyway. Be scared, but do it anyway.
Do it afraid. Yeah, do it afraid.
You mentioned something about homes. So, I talked about people losing their jobs. People lost their homes back in 2000.
Yes.
They lost their homes in 2008. They got a new one. Went to the apartment for a little while. A lot of them actually bought another house later. So don't be tied to these physical things. Don't be tied to your car. If you have to give up your car, don't be tied to your house. And don't get me wrong, I understand it's very traumatic when you are going through that stuff. But the most critical thing that we have is our life. I can get another car. I can get another job.
That's right.
I can't get another life. This is the one that I've been blessed with right now. This is the one that I have to live. So I'm on this is my second company. Yeah. Tried it. Didn't, the first one didn't work because of the crisis. Guess what? Made another one.
Right.
Made another one. And for my entrepreneurs out there, we are very risky people.
Yes.
Our first business, when it wasn't COVID, that was scary. We didn't know if it was going to make it. We didn't know if it was going to work, but it did. So let's stay focused on the possibilities. Lean on resources. The public library, Richland County Public Library, has a entrepreneurial page, and they have gone in and tried to consolidate all of the resources that we have. And I think there's another page for consumers as well. They have a meeting that I participate in every Monday, where they're bringing in all the players, all of the resources, the city, the county, the state, all these together to share information and make sure that the library has the information that they can post on their website. I sat on a mayor advisory council meeting today where the city is meeting with small businesses and getting feedback and trying to figure out what things they need to do to help people try to figure out what does this new normal right now look like.
Mm-hmm.
I understand looking at television, I do it all in 3 minutes. I need to highlight at the top. And I need to know how many new numbers of COVID we have and new deaths, so that I can pray for those families. Outside of that, I don't need to hear any more news. But stay tuned to what it is that's going on. If you're a small business and you qualify for the PPP loan or the EIDL loan, you need to stay plugged in to know what the requirements are for those loans. So we don't like to read sometimes, but this is a time where we're sitting home doing absolutely nothing.
Right,
so time reading, let's spend some time reflecting and staying connected with great shows and presentations like you're doing, Tre. So I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you putting together this platform where you're bringing us just information and validated information so that we don't feel like we have to go out and decipher. Everything on Facebook isn't true.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for saying that.
Your information is phenomenal. So we appreciate you doing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I want us to be educated and informed and empowered. You're right. We don't always get our information from traditional sources, and it has been to our detriment because there's so much misinformation out there. So this is what I can do. This was my, contribution. And Marvell says, thank you. No, thank you all for watching, and to your point, Karen, it just started out being, okay, and it's really just started out just to ask Tasha Boone to talk about what I heard her talk about at church. And then it blossomed into this, and God has blessed it. God has blessed the persistence and the consistency. So you're right. For entrepreneurs, you made such a great point. If God gave you, or if you had, like I said, whatever you believe, if you had the creativity and the mind to start that business, you will have the same, you still have the same creativity and mind to start whatever the next business might be.
Exactly.
So hold on to who you are and whose you are, and do what needs to be done. I want to say hi to Evangela. What is it? Anyway, Luella Cook. I'm a Destiny Walker faith talker. I like that. This is a Destiny Walker faith talker. Karen Jenkins is with us with KRJ Consulting. We're talking about leading through uncertainty and fear. We talked about fear, and it is an uncertain time right now. Marvell Williams Mendenhall says faith, and it's about faith.
It truly is. If there's a thing that says, if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right. So individually, we have to think we can and know we can, and then figure out what strategies we need to take. Looking at so here's the thing, when we talk about resources. So when I had a Facebook Live, because the first week of this, 2 weeks, whatever, after the legislation passed, people going crazy, right? We had to set the proper expectations. So let's talk about that for a minute. So the legislation was passed that we would get this money coming out, that the loans for the small businesses would come out. And then we had it for the individuals. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that fast normally, but in this legislation, which y'all know, it was about this big. It had to go to Treasury. They had to read it and decipher it. Treasury had to send it to the SBA. They had to decipher it. And they did all that within a week, and still had to get it to the banks for the banks to disseminate it. And I was hearing I'm on a South Carolina Collaborative, which is, again, another group of entities and a couple of small businesses. We come together with state, local, and other officials to make sure that we're communicating and providing services to small business community. And what I was hearing was disheartening, because I understand people are stressed, right? But when you're calling that service provider, they're stressed too. Mm. You have to deal with you, but they have to deal with 1,000 of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're picking up the phone and calling, and they know your situation, but you have people just, calling and fussing and being ugly and,
Yeah.
and you know it was all because of the stress. It really was.
Yeah.
Because this is how we normally act. But my thing is, I don't want to upset the apple cart with the provider that's trying to help me. Okay. And I don't care how stressed I get, I'm not going to call and bless them out because
Mhm.
I'm the messenger too, right? So if I'm calling my banker, or if I'm calling the SBA, if I'm calling, the city, if I'm calling whomever, I want to come to them with a concern. I need you to help me with my problem, but I don't want to upset you, because if I upset you, then you can't do your job to the best of your ability. And while you're working out there trying to do something for me, I need you to be able to do that job to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
ask that as a community, that we support those people who are still in the trenches. Most of us are working from home,
Right.
not working, right? So when we call those providers that are still on the front lines, that are still trying to provide us with service, take a minute before you pick up that phone. When you find out you got that letter, or something happened and you went there, before you respond, take a moment. Take a woosah. I call it a woosah moment.
Yes.
Take
Yeah.
a moment, a deep breath. Go walk. Jump up and down, some jumping jacks. That does a lot for getting that stress home.
Yeah. 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 And
So that
helping with that COVID-19.
oh girl, listen. It'll help you. It'll help you get yourself in a much better mental state, so that you can have a much more positive conversation around whatever you're trying to solve.
Hmm.
I try not to have conversations or make decisions when I'm at what I call that lower level of energy. I believe in energy, and I believe we're on a spectrum where you have high levels of energy and it's more positive, and lower levels of energy that may not be. And we're up and down the spectrum all day long. That's just life. That's who we are. But I do try my best not to make decisions when I'm at that lower level, because when you're at that lower level, unfortunately, like the horse in the buggy, this is all you see when you're at a lower level. I don't want to make a decision with limited perspective. I want to make a decision here. I don't want to make a decision where I can't see left and right. I want to make a decision where I can see the encompassing stuff around me. So I recommend that when you're in those situations, especially now since we're in COVID and we're in stressful times, and practice this at home. Practice this with your family members. We have people that are there with the kids, and it's getting stressful,
Yeah.
and the kids
Yeah.
are doing stuff, and the kids are stressed out, and it's whatever. Have a moment when you go there. Take a moment not to respond right then.
Yeah.
Want to is get ready to come out.
Yeah.
Take time, take a deep breath, walk away, come back down to a sense of normal, get back to your normal state. And I promise you, your communication will be crisper, it'll be smoother, it'll be better. And then you won't have that constant friction. We have too much on us now.
Yes.
Add a struggle or an argument over water. Okay. When we weren't really arguing about the water, we were really arguing because we were stressed out in the way that we came across to somebody. They didn't receive it in the way that it was intended. So I just put that out there as just one coping mechanism of how you deal with this stress thing while you're home.
I love that you mentioned that, Karen. Thaddeus Jones says facts, because we talked yesterday to Aaron and Jennifer Bishop with the Grace Christian Church, and they were talking about that, how to love and appreciate your friends and family members during this time. Just remembering everybody is stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
You got
Yes.
to give everybody a little bit more grace. Oftentimes we feel more comfortable lashing out at the ones we love because
Right.
that's a safe place, but everybody's, you just, everybody's stressed now. So you don't want to pop off, and anybody, I want to, before we leave, I want to talk a little bit about resources. You mentioned that there are resources. Obviously, the library is a resource. And I want to talk a little bit too about utilizing not only the resources, but the help of others. When you are pivoting, when you are thinking about a career change or a financial change, talk about the importance to reach out to those entities that can help you, and that everything doesn't always cost, because
So
big
one thing within our community anyway, and we don't like to ask for help,
yeah.
but I know you came into life by yourself. But you really didn't. You didn't come in by yourself.
Right. I was like, who did that?
The parent was there, and the
doctor. Yeah.
So we have to embrace that sense of community. This is not a zero-sum game where if I have, that means that you have not. There's enough out there when we look at it from a sense of abundance. There's enough out there for all of us to have something, what we need, what we want. So you want to go out and find resources that will provide you with guidance. Now, again, we don't like to read. Y'all see what's behind me. My biggest resources is I don't do a lot of TV. I do a lot of reading. And I don't do it all with the reading. On my phone, I have Audible, which is my online book. So when I'm in the car and start listening to radio, I'm listening to my books. The library has an app called Hoopla. Actually download books.
Is that HOOPLAH?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think, yeah. So you can download books at no cost. You can hold them for 3 weeks and listen to them. This is a great time to do that reflection of learning. Then when you look at the community, contact, if you're a small business, you have Office of Business Opportunity at the City of Columbia. You have Office of Business Opportunity with Richland County. You have the Small Business Development Center at 1225 Laurel Street, which has consultants, and they are paid through a grant through SBA and USC, who provide you with consulting services for free. I say at no cost is what they say. At no cost. So take advantage of those services, because those people can help you. Now, don't expect them to do your work for you.
Right.
Like, they're going to guide you. SCORE, SCORE.org. They are a mentoring arm of the SBA that retired executives and owners have come together and will come in and coach you. So take advantage of those things. Every day I'm looking at free online classes. We just hosted one yesterday called Crisis to Confidence.
Right.
Through uncertainty and fear. We're getting ready to release the recording of that. So if y'all go out to my Facebook page, Karen R. Jenkins, you see it right there. You can go in and sign up to get the recording. We're getting ready to take a journey, a group of people with us on a journey for the next 4 weeks after that, to get them from crisis to confidence. But
I love that.
The complimentary session was packed full of great content as well. So go out, look at it, and share it with a friend. Share it with a friend, but stay connected and look at places like or sites like Tre, who's providing great content and great information. But I'm also saying you need to validate your information. Everything
that's right
is not true.
Yeah.
I like to validate, trust but verify. So don't go off the handle as soon as somebody says something. We don't drink Clorox for health.
For nothing. You don't drink Clorox for anything.
No,
you just don't drink Clorox. Karen, I'm glad you mentioned your online series, because I was going to ask you to share that information with us. Jermaine Bankhead, thank you for watching. She says Hoopla is HOOPLA. Thank you, Jermaine. And I know Jermaine is one of those people that utilize your services. Lillian Smalls says, thank you, Karen. And then Deneen Ambersley says, our community has some of the best resources and services I've seen throughout my travels. And you're right, Deneen. I agree. Don't you, Karen, that there are several resources. We just don't utilize what we already have here.
We do. And I'll say Jermaine keeps me straight. Jermaine is my executive assistant. So
okay. So Jermaine, can you put Karen's information in the comments, please? Jermaine, can you put Karen's information so people can make sure they friend her on all social media and put her website?
Yes. And find, so our KRJ consultant or KRJ consulting, Jermaine, please put that out there as well. That's the business side, and we're trying to move. I have my side, and we're trying to move everybody over to the business side, because once I get to a certain level, I won't be able to add more people. So go out and like the Karen R. Jenkins fan page, as well as the KRJ Consulting page as well, so that, as we put information out, we do a lot of things. We do an Eat, Learn, Grow series.
Yes, yeah.
Where I invite small businesses to come in with me every other month to sit down for an hour and a half to ask me anything they want at no cost. That's just my give back to the community. We've been doing it virtually lately. So if you're interested in that as well, hit us up on the KRJ Consulting page, and we'll add you to our list so that you can be invited to those sessions. Great opportunity to connect with other like-minded businesses, work with them, possibly do business with them, and it doesn't cost you anything other than paying for your own lunch. That is when we get back to.
Well, if you're doing it virtually, they can either, just grab them a tuna fish sandwich.
Grab a lunch. Yes.
Karen, we've been talking about crisis, leading through uncertainty and fear. You have given us such great nuggets as far as, making sure that we utilize our resources, we connect with our gifts and talents, that those of us who are believers, that we trust God and remember that He's still the same God. Anything else that you want to share with us as we wrap up this great conversation?
And again, thank you so much, Trey, for what you do for us.
Thank you, Karen.
We appreciate being invited to come in and share.
Thank you.
One thing I'll tell you, and I've learned this from every challenge that I've had, and I'll share with you, this too shall pass.
Yes.
The question is, where will you be when it does? Will you be idly standing by, waiting for things to happen? Or will you take the tips that we've talked about today and many others and position yourself to be prepared for whatever is standing there for you when it happens? So I pray for each and every one of you, for your grace, for your mercy, that all of you stay safe and well. And I'm just so honored to even be here to have the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Jermaine has put your website and how people can connect with you on Facebook and LinkedIn. Please continue to post and share this information out so that everyone else can get this good, needed, important message. Push it out to the masses. Karen, before I leave, I typically read an excerpt of Jesus Calling. So if I may read this one today, it is
my favorite book.
Is that your favorite book?
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Have yours? Well, then I'm going to get you to read today. Can you read today?
So
okay.
Are we doing today's?
Yes, today, the 15th. I'll tell you though, yesterday was good. I am a mighty God. Nothing is too difficult for me. Because yesterday, when Aaron and Jennifer were on, I asked them to pray. Girl, they did a tag team prayer that was so powerful. But so you can do today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to do today.
You'll do today. Okay. Thank you.
Spending time alone with me is essential for your well-being.
Yes.
It is not a luxury or an option. It is a necessity. Therefore, do not feel guilty about taking time to be with me. Remember that Satan is the accuser of believers. He delights in heaping guilt feelings upon you, especially when you are enjoying my presence. When you feel Satan's arrows of accusation, you are probably on the right track. Use your shield of faith to protect yourself from him. About what you are experiencing and ask me to show you the way forward. Resist the devil and he will flee from you.
Yes.
Come to me and I will come near to you. Amen.
Amen. And Karen, let me just say this. People hear that and think the devil is some, red man with horns. The enemy is also those negative thoughts. The enemy is also that fear. The enemy is also that insecurity. The enemy is also maybe someone saying, you can't do this or you don't have the gifts. That's what the enemy is. It's not that Halloween character that we think it is. Anything negative is the enemy attacking you, but trust God to bring you through.
Can I share one thing before we leave?
Please, yes. Janine says amen. Jermaine is putting up all of your information, so please check out information for Karen.
I have a prayer circle that we meet every Monday, and it was so crazy because we went on this 40-day journey about 2 years ago and sporadically have been off and on. So as soon as this happened, I got 2 calls in one day from 2 of the members that said, hey, can we do our prayer circle again? Wow. And of course we can. So we just completed our 40 days and decided to continue. But Stephen Pressfield was on Oprah one day, and I listened to this. I think it was in July of 2018. It was so powerful that I wrote it down and I share it with everybody that I can. and I want to share it now because people are going to be experiencing some of this. So here's what he said.
Thank you.
As we pursue our dreams, a force will often rise up and stand in our way. That force is really resistance, like fear, self-doubt, and procrastination. How much resistance we feel is in direct proportion to how important the call is to our soul's evolution. Important it is, the more resistance.
Resistance. Wow.
Resistance is universal. It equals fear. There is a block between the human and soul. To alleviate the resistance, you need to pray and meditate.
Wow. Wow. That's so true. I've heard him say that before. That is so true. I love that, he said the more you want it, the stronger it is, the better it is, the more resistance you're going to get from whatever. And it is that fear inside of us.
We have to embrace that fear, and we have to do it anyway. And we have to recognize that when we have that thing, when we're headed in the right direction, it always comes with a shadow.
Yeah.
Always going to be a shadow. And it's as long as we know this is a shadow, we can move on and move forward anyway.
And rejoice
Yes.
In the end, knowing that you pushed through and that you made it through, because the light is at the end of the tunnel. There's a rainbow. There's the pot of gold at that rainbow. You just got to keep moving through.
Yes, ma'am. Amen.
Keep moving through. Hey, check out all of Karen Jenkins' social media. Jermaine Bankhead, her assistant, has put it in the post. And please like my Facebook and Instagram pages. Like Karen, I'm at my 5,000 level, but please go to the professional page, Tre Tailor, or my company page, Tailor Made Productions. Like and follow so you can find out more about coping with COVID. Now, tomorrow, we're going to talk with State Representative Terry Alexander. Join us because the legislative session, they had a couple of days last week where they talked about some COVID-related things. Terry's going to tell us about that tomorrow. Next week, if you want to know where your stimulus check is, Kadena Javis is going to tell us about that. Plus, did you know that you can now vote absentee? Everybody can. The folks with the Richland County Democratic Party are going to also join us next week. And I'm really excited about a big show on Friday. How will church look post-COVID? Well, we're going to find out from Travis Green with Forward City Church, also John P. Key with New Life Community Church, and Nicolette's watching. I haven't asked Pastor Jackson yet, but I'm going to say Pastor Jackson is going to be. Chris Levy Johnson already said he's going to be on. And then we also have Damon Johnson, who is with Metropolitan Baptist Church in Albany, New York. That's going to be a great show, and we want you to be here for it. Thank you guys so much for joining us for Coping with COVID. Karen, thank you again so much for joining us. This has been an incredible time. Denise says, thank you, Karen, for reading that. Yeah, that was such good word. And I just thank you so much just for everything you've done for our community throughout your career. Thank you, guys. Take care, stay well, be blessed, and stay safe. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.